I would like to call to order the Monday, February 17th meeting of the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wood.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Alderman Kula
Is running late.
Okay, we don't have any minutes this evening. There are no appearances, is that correct, Neil?
That's correct.
No unfinished business. Under new business, item 6A, consideration of resolution 25-2-2776, approving an agreement for installation services for the Monona LED streetlight conversions project. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
I will second.
All right.
It's all yours.
So this agreement is for approximately $70,000. There is not a do not exceed or a firm number in the contract, as MG&E doesn't tend to do that in their contracts. So they did give us confidence that this would come in at around 70 grand for installation of the LED streetlights. And this went to Public Works Committee on the 5th of this month, and that was recommended for City Council approval. So.
Questions, Doug?
Yeah, so we're getting the other 80,000 as federal funds, correct? I had emailed Brad earlier today asking about, obviously with federal funding involved, you immediately wonder if it's actually going to be there, and I know you looked into that some.
Yeah, I can elaborate on that. So I looked up I'll just say it, a New York Times article, and I was trying to find as much information as I could. It doesn't appear at this point that the majority or the bulk of the BIL funding is stripped or frozen.
And what is DIL?
BIL, the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Okay.
So that includes the carbon reduction program, which is what we're using to fund
Okay.
this. And so far, it's not frozen, so we should have the funds.
This is something we pay for and then they reimburse us?
That's correct, yeah. And only for the materials, right? So the $70,000 that we're talking about tonight in this agreement with MG&E, that is not covered by the grant, because we did not bid the services out, because these are MG&E's poles
Right.
and our lights, so it creates a conflict there. If we were to have bid it out, we would have to have essentially an agreement in place with MG&E that our contractor who we have hired on can go on their poles and work with their lines and stuff like that, so.
There was nothing said at the MPO meeting last week, about concerns, yes, but nothing concrete, like they didn't, they were not aware of any impending funding stoppages, although I did hear, I think EV charging stations were eliminated.
I think I read that too. So
Yeah, I've heard that
or at
too.
least paused.
Pause for now.
Yeah.
Just say one thing. So we budgeted this, we actually, this is probably from 2023, this project was budgeted for the full amount, and the grant came in later. So technically, if the grant technically went away, we'd still have the money
Oh, okay.
to do the
That's
project.
good to
Because
know.
we actually, this is, basically, the grant money happened after we approved the budget, so
Yeah.
there'll be the savings, so we can use that money eventually for another project if we get the grant money. But for now, if the grant goes away, we have the money budgeted.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's correct. We delayed the project because this was a brand-new program, and we wanted to try and take advantage of
Yeah,
it, which
no,
we
I
were
bet
able
you
to.
did.
So.
Yeah. Doug, did you have any other questions?
No.
I'm just curious, $70,000 to install 250 lights? What exactly is involved, and is it just unscrewing a bulb and screwing
No.
another bulb? What
Yeah.
are they doing?
So it's an entire head.
Yeah.
So it's a whole fixture, and the one that's up there has to come off the arm
Okay,
that extends off of the pole. And then any wiring that's there has to get disconnected properly from the existing fixture. That needs to get trashed, which costs money.
Okay,
And then the new fixture gets put on and installed and then tested. And then there's some housings that go around it to keep from light pollution extending out into adjacent properties and whatnot.
and we're paying for things like the housings and the,
It all came
it all
with the
comes
fixture.
out of the AE
Yep,
or
yep.
whatever. Okay.
We're not paying a cost, it's at their, they have a markup, I assume that's in that cost.
We pay for, I mean, you're talking about the grant?
The grant pays for the
Yeah,
Oh,
equipment,
grant
right?
can cover that, yeah,
Yeah,
yep, that's correct,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I thought that seemed kind of crazy.
It's a good question, Mayor.
We've had some mixed feedback on the existing LEDs that we put in, and we've noticed that if we put the house guards on, which are essentially a shroud
Uh-huh,
around the fixture itself, and we minimize, or we basically have the light pattern down on the street and
It's
maybe
more targeted,
just behind the
kind
curb, that we don't hear as much negative feedback about
okay.
it, so.
All right, well, I was just curious why they cost so much, so.
But there's no extra material you're buying, is there?
No, I mean, outside, if they come across something that's in the existing arm that they have to, if there's a bad wire or
Mhm.
something like that, that's stripped or isn't going to work correctly, they'll pull that out and put a new one in. That'll get charged to the city, but it's not in the 58,000 or whatever it was that we used to bid the project out
Yeah.
for
So you
materials.
said there's 250 of them?
Yeah,
250 is divided by 70 is basically 280 per pole, so that's
Yeah.
reasonable.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Nope.
If not, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwood,
Aye.
Mayor O'Connor,
Aye, motion passes. Next, item 6B, consideration of resolution 25-2-2777, approving an agreement for construction management services for the Kelly Place Stormwater, excuse me, improvements project. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
I will second. Brad,
Right.
is you gonna talk about this too?
Yep, so this is essentially one of the final phases of our stormwater improvements that are needed in the city to meet pollution control standards.
Mhm.
And this is what we used to call Reach 64 Phase 2 when we were in the preliminary design portion of the project, and we were trying to figure out what project and where to put it. This is going in the Kelly Place right-of-way between Midmore Road and McKenna Road. It's about a 350-foot-long right-of-way, 60 feet wide, that used to be there for a street that was never installed, Kelly Place. So this was recommended for approval by City Council by the Public Works Committee on the 5th. It's for $60,000. And the overall project cost is 1.86 million, and of which we have 1.15 million in awarded grant funding for it.
And I guess we could ask you the same story about grant funding. Is this,
None of it's federal.
none of this is federal?
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
reimbursement, so the funding, we have to fund the whole project up front and apply
Like
for
we usually
reimbursement
do.
afterwards,
Yeah, yeah. Did you have anything else?
No, it's just a very substantial project for
Yeah.
the city.
And that'll be happening this summer?
Yeah, that's
Is that
correct,
right? Yep.
yep.
Doug, did you have any questions?
Don't think so. And there's gonna be a walkway on top of it, correct?
That's correct. There will be a new pathway kind of that meanders through the right-of-way between Midmore and McKenna. There will be some informational kiosks there of what is underground at that
Cool.
location, so people can get a general idea that they're walking on top of a gigantic underground wet pond,
Yeah.
instead of it being at the surface and annoying everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it'll be quite nice. It'll be fairly easy to maintain for the city, low cost. Just generally part of the design, we're gonna edge the edges of the right of way with split rail fence.
nice.
Not terribly rustic, but not super ridiculous like stainless steel or
Yeah,
something like that.
I think that's gonna look really nice. And right now, that property is just, kind of people think it's part of their yard kind
Yeah.
of thing, right? So,
I mean, the Parks Department does mow it.
okay,
Mow what they need to mow, what
Yeah.
everybody else doesn't mow, basically.
Yeah,
Even though those neighbors probably don't know that they're on, city property.
yeah. Well, I think the walkway's a great idea. I guess if there aren't any other questions, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwood,
Aye.
Mayor O'Connor,
Aye, motion passes, thank you.
Great.
Moving on, we just have item 6C, acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated January 31st to February 13th. 2025 documentation of invoices paid is available in the city clerk's office. Mark?
Yes, I just got a little bit of time here, so I got a couple things. On page 20, City of Monona, you'll see two parcel numbers that we paid for, a total of $27,000. Those are the properties we bought in TIF number 8, or TIF 7. So they were taxable at the beginning of the year, so now next year, as of today, they're non-taxable, so we had to pay the 1 year of the taxable property taxes. Underneath that, the White Horse, that is the payment for the road that was put in, part of the TIF grant.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was signed off on that one. Page 21, Axie Burleson, it's just the December costs for legal bills. Page 22, Civmec, $165,000. That is our insurance, that's our auto, workers' comp, and all the other liability insurance we're required to have. Page 23, Lake Ridge Bank at the very bottom, goes on to the next page. One thing in there, just so you know, there's an ice car you'll see for $6,156. That's a battery we had to pay for the Zamboni, or it's not
Oh,
Zamboni,
okay.
whatever it's actually called. Had to get it from China. They don't sell in the
Wow.
United States. We didn't know that. Page 25, very bottom, Monona Memorial Day Parade Tourism Grant.
Yeah, I've got a question about that. That seems really high.
That's actually the same, I think, same
Is
amount
that
they
the
did
same as
last year.
we've given them before, Mark?
little bit
Last year we gave
more.
the same amount. I
Yeah,
remember it was,
Oh.
it's grown because of the pot of money has grown. But they'll have to look at it for next year if that's gonna be,
Are we just paying reimbursement for police and fire costs, or are we paying more? than
that's
that?
probably one of the major costs. They have some marketing expense that they do, but a majority of it ends up being, it's in exchange for advertising the hotels
Right.
during the event and for the materials. We fund them and essentially, but there's certainly one of their key expenses is definitely the, more police than fire in this
Right,
case.
and we have to pay
'Cause of the-
Madison Police too.
Because of the number of intersections and so forth, yeah.
Okay. All right, just curious.
I have a lot of other stuff. Page 38.
I had a question on 27.
Sure.
Team Viewer Germany GmbH premium subscription, $2,237.
That is 203, which is the media, so I don't know exactly, I believe that's the issue we ran into with the, I have to talk to Will.
Is that the music licensing?
Yeah, the issue we ran into.
Yeah, so just to be clear on that one, that essentially they had been using I guess it was like a non-commercial license to play music on the radio, and it was discovered when they went to update it. I think we certainly weren't in trouble or anything, but when they kind of went to renew it, they sat down with the person, they realized that we didn't have the proper license to be able to
That's not a good
to
thing.
just replay all the music like we had been. That had never been an issue before, but for some reason it was flagged this year, so I think that for this year, because they were already underway, I believe Director Nimmo said they would go ahead and get that taken care of, but I think they're gonna evaluate whether or not they're gonna do that
Yeah,
again
I
for
think
next
they're
year.
terminating that.
Okay.
So,
All right, just the name was interesting, I
Yeah.
thought it. Couldn't imagine what it might be. Okay,
Page 38, the Near Electrical Supply, Inc. So this is we're starting to buy some LEDs. So that's one purchase already for the lights. more to come. Page 40, just because we've been, Brad's been here for a while, Veer Becker, the stormwater quality management engineering. I believe that contract is only like $5,000 left on that. That's all I have.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to accept the bills?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Neil, do you have any updates, or Mark?
Just a quick note that the two items approved, Brad's items, will be on the consent agenda for council tonight, so.
Because they fall within the parameters, right? Great. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Is there anything?